Mike, 63-14 final with Penn State football.
Ugh.
I remind 1994. I was at the game. It was the trifecta weekend, homecoming, Halloween weekend, and that was back before they set the clocks. When they set the clocks back, and you actually got the extra hour in the bars. Now, when it's 2:00, it stays 2:00. Doesn't anyhow.
So true.
Penn State blew out Ohio State 63-14. I think Kajana Carr had 4 touchdowns in the game. Mm-hmm. He butted in front of me in a line at a place called Players, and these guys were like, "Hey, why does he get to go in front?" I said, "When you score 4 touchdowns, let you in front of me too." Anyhow, I say those are all positive feelings because Saturday's game was hideous. At 27-0, Michael Long in our sports department got up and turned the stage into the World Series. We were done. We shot the horse. What went wrong on Saturday?
Well, we talked last week in previewing this game about how we were suspecting that maybe Penn State was catching Ohio State at a good time.
Yeah.
Well, we could. I could not have been more wrong.
I jumped on your ship with you.
Could not have been more wrong about that. They played this team at the worst. They hit Ohio State at the worst possible time.
Became like the perfect storm for Ohio State.
Yeah, it was. This was an Ohio State team that was determined to send a message, determined to throw its hat into the ring for the BCS. And is a much better football team than Penn State right now. I mean, I'm not going to say it's all intangible stuff. There was a lot of tangible stuff, too.
Right.
They are a great offensive college football team. I really do think offensively they're right there with anybody in the country. And defensively, maybe not yet, but there's still enough time left that they can maybe work their way into it. Mm-hmm. But they were determined. They were determined to not just win, but win big. There was all this talk last week about how winning is not enough. You got to send a message. You got to impress people, and I think that message. Urban Meyer, who I think is one of the best 2 or 3 coaches in this sport, embraced that. Right. A lot of coaches, the default thing would be, no, just 1 week at a time. Keep your head down. Take care of what's in front of you. Right. He didn't do that. He sort of embraced this idea that we got to send a message, and they did.
I thought Braxton Miller, Al, contain him like you did the year before when they almost pulled off a win with them. It was a close game. Do like you did with Gardner. But instead, Braxton Miller showed me something offensively with his throwing ability, too. I knew the backup quarterback for Ohio State was a good thrower.
Yep.
I didn't know this guy was such a good passer.
He has really improved in that area. He really was not very good at that last year, but he really has improved in that area. And I thought there were a lot of times, maybe not a lot of times, but certainly early in the game there were times when Penn State was okay up front. Their defensive linemen were winning their individual matchups and getting pressure. They couldn't tackle Braxton Miller. It was just as simple as that. He's one of the. I knew a guy when we were kids. He used to play sandlot football, and this kid moved into our neighborhood, and he was like Braxton Miller. We couldn't tackle him. He'd ruined the game. We had to quit playing because it became a farce because we couldn't tackle this dude. Right. So that's what it was like.
Did Penn State do enough defensively? It seemed like the Michigan game, they mixed coverages up and schemes. I read this in your column, I believe, where you thought they were a little bit too vanilla. Maybe it was your grades in the Penn State Extra.
Yeah, it was. It looked to me like they, against Michigan, as you said, a lot of 5-man fronts, a lot of blitzes from a lot of different places, and unbalanced line. I thought they threw the kitchen sink at Michigan and actually got burned a couple times deep for touchdowns, but I don't think Ohio State's going to burn you deep. But it looked to me like they were in a standard 4-3 almost all the time, which surprised me a little bit. But I also think Urban Meyer watched that film, and I think he got a lot from that film and was able to spread Penn State out horizontally and kind of take a lot of that stuff away.
Okay, what, if any, positives for Penn State came out of that game?
I honestly don't think there were any positives, to tell you the truth. This is where we are right now. This is the bottom, as I wrote in my column for Sunday's paper. This is the bottom of the whole cycle of coming out of the sanctions. I think this is the bottom, and I think it's going to get better from here on out. But
and then your column in Penn State Extra this last Saturday.
Right.
What is the biggest difference you see between these two teams? You mentioned that a little bit in your column as well.
Well, I thought I thought the difference in team speed and explosiveness and athleticism, especially between Ohio State's offense and Penn State's defense, was huge. It was just huge. I mean, insurmountable.
And is this going to be? Can Penn State grow from this, the coaching staff, and see? Maybe even recruiting, or are you starting to see this already with what you're seeing in the 2014 class? Where do we stand with this?
The 2014 class, the majority of the kids that they have committed are speed kids, wide receivers, defensive backs, running backs. That's not I don't think that's an accident. I think that's addressing what we were just talking about. The 2015 class is, by all accounts, according to the recruiting guru, is going to be much better in the areas that Penn State recruits well in big guys. So I think they're going to replenish the big guys in 2015. But 2014, they're going to try to get faster and more athletic.
More like Ohio State.
Yep.